And welcome to the Fantasy Flex Podcast presented by PrizePicks. I am your host, Chris Raybon, joined by my dude, Sean Koerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Happy week 8. I would say this is mid-season for us, but with 17 weeks, we're not even there yet. So happy almost mid-season.
Yeah, we got one more.
We got one more. How are things going for you?
Pretty good. Not the greatest betting week for me, but aside from that, it's cool. You know, I'm enjoying the fact that we got 3 sports on right now. We got NFL, we got baseball. I mean, we got hockey too, but I don't get into hockey.
Hockey counts. Hockey counts.
Not for me. It counts when football's over. Then I'll count it. But we're gonna talk some week 8. We'll start with the Thursday slate, then we'll get into our top main slate plays at every position. For the Thursday slate, we got this Packers-Cardinals game, and we have Devontae Adams on the COVID list. Now Alan Lazard reportedly on the COVID list as well. And Adam Schefter on the Monday Night Football telecast said he wouldn't be surprised if Adams was the last Packer to go on the COVID list. And then Lazard went on. But, I mean, this is a situation that's fluid. We could see more guys end up on the list before this week is over. And, I mean, you know, a couple of receivers, you know who the receivers spend time with, Aaron Rodgers. So it's just a kind of a ugly week where you're going to have to really monitor the news. But what are your first thoughts on the captain spot for Packers Cardinals, given all the news?
So, yeah, I mean, we have a lot to unpack here, but obviously for the Packers side, we have to consider Aaron Jones here for the captain slot. I mean, they're going to lean on him more, not only in the running game, but also the passing game. So I think he's just the no-brainer captain play for the Packers. And then on the other side, Kyler Murray, I think you got to go with him. You know, it's tricky to figure out like who to stack him with, but if you captain him, you can stack him with 2 or 3 pass catchers. Typically he spreads the ball around. I mean, he's Kyler Murray, so he already comes loaded with upside. So I think captain, I'm going to be pretty boring here and mix up, you know, Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray. Take some swings in my flex slots though.
Yeah, you know, Aaron Jones is a guy that I think is going to be the go-to guy for the Packers. He might even lead them in targets at this point.
Yeah.
You know, they used him a lot when Adams was out the last couple of years. Adams missed a couple of games. They like to use him in a passing game. I think in a sneaky captain play is James Conner, because he's that running back that this line has gone from 3.5 up to 6.5. And I wouldn't be surprised if it hits to 7, especially if the Packers get anyone else ruled out. So this could be just another one of those game scripts, kind of like the ones we've been seeing at the Cardinals lately, where they get up big and Conner gets in the end zone one way or another. So I think Conner's kind of the sneaky play, and then Aaron Jones. So I like the 2 running backs on this one, especially since the Cardinals are, like you said, difficult to figure out who to stack. And in this one, you know, the last couple of weeks, they've been playing some teams with very obvious defensive tendencies. But this week, Green Bay is kind of in the middle of the pack. They mix it up, man zone. I think Hopkins, I know he's not practicing Monday, but I think he'll have a field day against that Green Bay secondary. So he's always an option too. But out of those secondary guys, it's not as obvious this week with, you know, no clear tendencies for the Packers. What about for cheat codes?
Yeah, so cheat codes, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I like Chase Edmonds this week. I know you mentioned James Conner, but it was Chase Edmonds that essentially operated as the workhorse back. I mean, he had 15 carries versus 10 for Conner, which is really bizarre because, you know, the Cardinals are blowing him out. I lost my prop bet on James Conner to go over 13.5 carries. So it's very tilting to see Chase Edmonds in mop-up duty. Like, I got that one wrong. But, you know, Chase Edmonds, he only caught 1 pass for 9 yards. But, you know, he ran 76% routes run. So, I mean, he was operating as a workhorse back. I could see that happening again here. So I love Edmonds. You know, it looks like DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with a hamstring injury. So certainly I'm going to take some swings at your Christian Kirks, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz. Like, you can't go wrong with any of those guys. So, you know, I'll be pairing 2 or 3 of those guys with Kyler Murray. And then, you know, all the excitement is on the Packers side of the ball. I think when it comes to the wide receivers, I mean, Randall Cobb is clearly the top play now. But I'll be looking at Amari Rodgers and Equanimeous St. Brown. I think one of those two guys will
Equanimous.
You one of those two guys is going to step up. I love Amari Rodgers. I mean, he was a 3rd round pick this year. He was seen as sort of the Randall Cobb replacement, and then they went out and got Randall Cobb. So I don't know if he's going to be the guy that sets up here. He's a really good route runner. He's the kind of guy that I expect only to get better as his rookie season goes on. So I'll have some Rodgers flyers, but I also like St. Brown as well. And then Robert Tonyan just has massive touchdown upside without Devontae Adams. So I'll take some swings at him. But yeah, we'll have to see how this situation shakes out. And if, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is able to return from the IR, that's going to be huge. I'll have some shares of him. But we have a lot to unpack here. But either way, I'll be taking some Packers wide receiver flyers here.
So for me, it's going to be A.J. Dillon. I think this Packers game plan is going to be extremely running back centric. And it's so crazy now with Adams and Lazard out that I actually worry that even these Packer dart throw guys are going to be way too highly rostered to get like unique lineups in tournaments, because like if it stands, everyone's going to be on St. Brown. Everyone's going to be on Cobb. And then the Cardinals are number 1 in DVOA against tight ends. So that's not great news for Tonyan. I think, he's a guy that I would like to, get in there some, but I just think the Packers are not going to, I think they're going to try to run it as much as they can and throw a ton of passes to the backs. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with some split backfield looks with Dillon and Jones, split one of them out wide, kind of have them coming in and out depending on the protection. So I think that's going to kind of be the guy who may be forgotten a little bit as people look for the wide receivers, the tight ends, this and that. So yeah, he's the guy on the Packers side. And then for the Cardinals, I mean, it's been these other receivers. I think you just got to kind of mix them in: AJ Green, Rondale Moore, and Christian Kirk. I'm not worried about Hopkins. He just doesn't practice. Like that's just they don't need him to practice on a short week. Like I think this is just like kind of a week off almost for him, because he's still playing a ton of snaps, extremely productive. But I will mix all those guys in, because again, AJ Green is usually their top guy against zone coverage. Christian Kirk, when they need a man beater, he'll get singled up. They'll go to him. Rondale Moore just kind of the 4th option, but you could do either one, and then they have Ertz. So this Packers team is like 20th in man coverage rate. And so they're but they're still like middle of the pack, it's very little separation between that and league average. So there's not really anything on the Cardinals side, but on the Packers side, I'm looking for AJ Dillon to be heavily involved.
Do you think that the Packers keep it close? Are you worried at all about Dillon when it comes to like a negative game script?
Not in this one, because I think if they get blown out, Dillon will play more, but he'll be a bigger part of the game plan to start anyway. But I don't think the Packers will keep it close. No.
That's why I think Khalil Hill might be an interesting dart throw.
Yeah, that's very true.
Just because he's more of a I know that they've been using AJ Dillon as a pass catching back, but Khalil Hill is literally a pass catching back. So I think if you want, you always talk about setting a story with your lineup. Like if you want to create a lineup where the Cardinals blow out the Packers, I would throw in a Khalil Hill who could get some heavy 4th quarter usage if they don't keep it close. Like the spread's only 6. I bet we'll have a competitive game, but there is an increased probability that this is a blowout, especially if more players are ruled out. Like imagine if Aaron Rodgers is ruled out, then I'll have some Khalil Hill for sure.
Yeah, and I mean the Cardinals have had a lot of close spreads before, and they've blown teams out. So this is not above them to just. But I like that. And the Cardinals defense is probably actually my favorite cheat code on the Cardinals side, because you can stack them with Koerner or Chase Edmonds. All right.
Yep.
Let's get into our main slate plays for quarterback. Let's start with who's your top 5 in the rankings this week, Sean.
So I have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, of course, Kyler Murray, and Justin Herbert.
I got Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and then and Kyler Murray, and then Matthew Stafford is my QB5. Just because Justin Herbert's still playing that Belichick defense that didn't they get shut out last year? I believe they got shut out. Belichick defense. So
I remember I was on the Pats that game. Bill Belichick versus rookie quarterbacks. Yep. Herbert's no longer a rookie, and he's pretty good. So it's early in the week. I have Stafford just behind him by 0.2 points. So they could flip by the end of the week.
Yeah, I have Brady and Stafford. Stafford and Brady ahead of Herbert.
Actually,
Yeah.
from now on, if I don't have Brady in my top 5, just slap me. Tell me to change that. Like, I don't know why I ever have him outside of my top 5 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's really because Stafford has such a good matchup, but so does Brady in the sense that not that the Saints defense is bad. They're very good, but Tampa Bay probably not going to try to run on the Saints at all. Like, they're probably just going to try to throw on them all day because it's that same kind of run defense that they face in their own practice. Those are like the 2 best run defenses, the Saints and the
and he's probably getting back Antonio Brown and or Gronk. So I mean, just I don't know why I ever project Brady outside of the top 5.
I mean, it's close this week because Stafford, I mean, against Houston, he'll probably throw for 500 yards in the first half. So, it's one of those things. But yeah, I think those are the guys for me. All right, Sean, who are some of your cheat codes for DFS cheat codes at quarterback for week 8?
So for the QBs 7K or above, it's got to be Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's our boy. He's playing the Lions this week. And last week, I mean, this is how good he is. I mean, he was just awful in both real life and fantasy for the first 3 quarters. And he still finished as a QB6. I mean, he just went off in the 4th quarter. So I think, we're going to get a ceiling game from him this week against the Lions. You could just never go wrong taking Hurts. At 7,200, he just has, high floor, high ceiling, everything we love in a fantasy quarterback. So I'm going with him for the expensive guys. And for the guys below 6K, I'm targeting Matt Ryan again this week. He's facing the Panthers, which, admittedly isn't a great matchup, but he's just too cheap. He's playing well right now. I think, Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley is a really sneaky stack this week. I think everyone's going to be on Kyle Pitts, and rightfully so, but Ridley's pretty cheap, and, he's due to break out at some point. I mean, he's too good to be held in check for too much longer. So I think, having some Ryan Ridley stacks in tournaments makes sense. And then Teddy Bridgewater at 5,400. He's facing the football team who has allowed the most points against opposing quarterbacks this year. Teddy gets Jerry Jeudy back this week. So, he has a ton of weapons. He's been pushing the ball down the field this year. His 31 pass attempts, beyond 20 yards or more, ranks 5th most in the league. That's not typical for Teddy Bridgewater. And he's missed on quite a few of them. So I think he's leaving some points on the field. I think he could have a big week against the football team. So I like him at 5,400. And that's probably the cheapest I'll go this week. I think this is another top heavy week. So I'm not really going for too much value, but I do like Teddy at 5,400 this week.
Yeah. I like, for the cheap guys, I like Heineke actually in that game. I think against that Denver, man heavy scheme, we saw him run for 95 yards last week. I just think that he's a guy that nobody's going to be on. So, and he has a chance to run for a lot of yards. Obviously it's going to be up and down with him throwing the ball, but I just like the rushing upside for that cheap, because it's really tough this week. I mean, if you're not taking one of these top 5 guys, I mean, even Joe Burrow up to 7,100 on DraftKings. That's a lot for him in a game where the game script might not necessitate him throwing for 400 yards the way it did against a team like the Ravens. So it's Stafford, it's Brady, it's Josh Allen, and then I think some Heineke will be the other guy that I look for in that low end tier. All right, what's our prop for quarterbacks?
Let's go with Jameis Winston, total passing yards against his former team this week. Neither of you or Samantha seem too thrilled about my potential streamer call this week to Jameis Winston. But I have his line set at 250.5. Are you going over or under that?
Under. I have him still in the low 200s. I mean, did you see the game yesterday?
No, I did.
It's if Alvin Kamara doesn't catch passes, he has 0 passing yards. I mean, it just, I think Sean Payton has to take the shackles off a little, right? I mean, you're not running into this Tampa Bay run defense, so maybe I'll bump him up a little, but he's also just still kind of inaccurate. Did you see that play? He missed a touchdown.
Which one?
So there was one play.
Because I had the over 1.5 passing touchdown. So yeah, there was a couple.
Oh, so the last drive of the game, I think it was.
The Callaway one?
Yeah, no, they had a tight end screen set up, I think, to Juwan Johnson or Troutman, but it was 4 blockers. I don't know if you watched the Peyton Eli Monday night thing. So like
I did a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so I had it tuned into that. So they went to Eli's tablet, and they essentially had four blockers with the receiver waiting versus just two defenders to Jameis's left, and the play was designed to go there, and Alvin Kamara whiffed so bad on like a pass block that Jameis because Eli was saying you still got to just float the ball up to him because that was an automatic touchdown. But Jameis tried to like evade the defender himself instead of like just like throwing the ball up. And so it was an incompletion. And then like you saw Sean Payton just heated on the sideline because he knew he called a perfect play. And then you saw Jameis looking at the tablet and he was heated. So yeah, there was that.
That was on the very last drive.
I believe so. I think it was the one where they took the lead.
They're like
not the last drive, the one where they took the lead. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
gotcha.
Like
he
they
missed
got a field
another
goal.
one too.
Yeah, and then he missed another one, and then he missed one. He missed like a third down play where he threw it behind Callaway, and they could have converted. So yeah, I mean, I'm going under. Point is, I'm going under.
Yeah, but he was airing it out, and it was raining. Traquan Smith was on the wrong page. Kevin White was on the wrong page. Like, I think he puts it together. Like he's playing the Buccaneers, so
yeah,
they're gonna have to air it out. That's why if I was gonna sneak this by you, so I'll take your under bet. For however much you want. I think he's going over 250 here is my point.
I mean, I know you're just chasing the Justin Fields over against Tampa Bay.
Oh, well, yeah, that's separate. No, I don't have a history of losing betting on Jameis Winston, but certainly I'm 0-2 on Justin Fields overs. It's going to take a lot for me to ever bet on him again.
Well, no, I meant because it was against Tampa Bay. I'm saying like,
oh, right. No, but just Justin Fields in general, we can't trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jameis Winston, it's a revenge game. I think he has a sneaky good game this week.
Let's go to running backs. Sean, who are your top 5 at running back for this week?
Pretty standard week. It's Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I have Henry, Kamara, Cook. I have Taylor 4th, actually, and then Darrell Henderson 5th. So Eckler's right there, but Henderson's been getting an even bigger share of the backfield work than I thought, so it's like we keep getting worried that maybe he'll give some up to Sony Michel, but it's really not happening. So those guys are kind of mismatched. The real question is who backs up Eckler? Like, is it Larry Roundtree this week? Is it?
Oh, I'm done. I'm done trying to figure that out. Sportsbooks have floated props for those backup running backs, and yeah, it has been pretty. Who the hell knows? But either way, it doesn't matter. Because it's Eckler's a workhorse back, but yeah, they've been kind of rotating those 3 backs behind him.
Is Eckler kind of the guy that Belichick game plans for, you think, or is it Keenan Allen, or is it Mike Williams?
I was thinking about that. It's got to be Mike Williams, right? Like I don't think you could truly shut down Keenan Allen. He gets open no matter what. So I think they have to key in on Mike Williams, right?
I mean, I think that they're kind of weak on the inside now, right? Because didn't they lose Jones, the slot corner? So I mean, they might double Allen and put a safety over the top of Williams or something like that. So I think Eckler, Eckler will probably have a big game. Yeah. So I mean, Eckler's he's right there. I think Zeke and Pollard had pretty decent. The Cowboys had a pretty decent running back afternoon against New England. So yeah. All right, let's talk about our DFS cheat codes at running back. Who you got, Sean?
So I'm going with Cordell Patterson at 6,200. I've been torn about him all season long. Now I'm saying buy high on him. He's in my top 12 this week. I mean, the flippening happened where he had 14 carries to Mike Davis's 4, which is huge. If we can project him for more carries going forward, that's massive. And he had a disappointing week receiving wise. He had 2 catches for 1 yard. By the way, I hit on my under 41 and a half receiving yard prop. Thank you very much. But he ran a season high 67% routes run. So, I mean, that's huge. So his underlying usage is running back 1 status right now. So, I'm all in on Patterson this week at 6,200. Can't get enough of him, honestly. So, I'm buying the hype now. We were kind of on him heading into week 2, and then I said he was a sell high, and now I'm back in. So it's been a roller coaster ride for sure. Another guy we've been talking about a lot since the offseason is Michael Carter. I love him this week at 4,900. It looks like Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson are hurt, so he could be the true workhorse back this week. He had 11 carries for 37 yards last week. That's not really the valuable aspect with Carter. It's the receiving usage. That's what I was kind of touting up last week. And he cashed in with 8 catches for 67 yards, 59% routes run rate. So this week as 10-point underdogs against the Bengals, he's game script proof. So I'm expecting, Mike White to give him plenty of dump off. So I love his receiving upside here. So love Carter at, sub 5K. He's a smash spot play right here. And then just last guy real quick is Alex Collins at home against the Jaguars. He's 5,300. He's averaged 17 carries a game the past 3 without Chris Carson. And those were all negative game scripts where they lost. So imagine they have a positive game script this week against the Jaguars. You could see 20 plus carries. He's in a great spot. Rashad Penny looked more of like a change of pace back where he absorbed sort of the DJ Dallas, Travis Homer role as opposed to being a real threat to Alex Collins. So I do like Collins this week, assuming Chris Carson is still out, right?
He's on IR, so yeah. Miss another week.
I think he has one more week. Yeah. So love Alex Collins here.
Yeah, this is always simple. Pete Carroll does not like Rashad Penny. Like point blank, period. Like it was never. I know there was like some people like, oh, Penny, should I start him? Like I was getting sit questions about Rashad Penny.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
way.
No, like it's never Penny. Like it's just not. That's how. Like he might switch it off between Dallas and Homer. And their usage, but Penny is never going to be like more than like a, 35% snap kind of guy for Carroll. It's
almost like trying to figure out the Justin Jackson, Larry Roundtree, Josh Kelly rotation, right? Like that's the way I view it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for that guy. All right, for me, I like Darrell Henderson. Down at 6,500 again. This is a guy getting close to 80% of the carries. He's running a route about 70% of the time out of the backfield. His underlying usage is great. I know he didn't have a monster game against the Lions like we expected. There was some game script issues that kind of were surprisingly prevented him, but he's still been, into the mid-teens and carries every week. He got 6 targets last week. He's got that a couple of times this year. So a good bet to kind of push for 20 touches. Khalil Herbert, Williams came back and Herbert continued to be the go-to back, and they really like him. And there's no point with them struggling like this to play like Damian Williams. So I think the usage is going to continue. I mean, Damian Williams split snaps with Ryan Nall last week. So it wasn't even just like, okay, we're getting in Herbert more. It was, Damian Williams is kind of, I think, entrenched in the backup role now. So Herbert is a guy that I'd be looking at for the rest of the season, or at least until Montgomery comes back. And then, I love Alex Collins as well. I think that's a great call because, again, Pete Carroll hates Penny. This could be a 20 carry game for Collins against this Jags D. All right, what's our prop?
So I love that Khalil Herbert call so much. Let's talk about him some more here. Let's try to project his rushing yards against the 49ers. Since you do like him, I might have to set this line a little bit higher. But I have it at 66.5 rushing yards. Are you over? Yeah.
I have a median around 75. I have him. He's my RB10 this week.
Yeah. So, I mean, they lost 3-38 against the Buccaneers, the best run D.
Wait, can we have a tangent? Can we go on a tangent here real quick? I didn't mean to cut you out. Just one second. What somebody said. Why do people, what is the, like 3-38? That is like a pet peeve of mine. Like, why isn't it just 38-3? Like, why?
Oh yeah. Well, I was reading the score. It's literally 3-38. So I'm just reading it off.
Okay, but is that that never bothered you? Like
as soon as I said it, I was like, why don't I just say 3-3?
Okay.
There's too much going on right now for me to care about that. So let's just roll with it. But either way, whether they lost 3-38 or 38-3, he was facing the Buccaneers. Like you said, Damian Williams was back and he still ran for 100 yards.
Yeah.
So he's a guy where like Dalton Schultz in like week 4, remember I was fading him. I quickly pivoted once the underlying data showed that he was the real deal. This week I am quickly pivoting to Khalil Herbert as, a solid RB2 right now until David Montgomery returns. I mean, just last week proves it. So I was a little bearish on him, no, pun intended, a couple weeks ago, but I'm all in on Herbert. Love him. So yeah, I was afraid you were going to take the over, but I'll probably be there closer to like 75 with you by the end of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed too, or maybe I should say I was not impressed with the Niners run defense against the Colts in a game where you kind of knew that the Colts wanted to run with Jonathan Taylor, and they were able to just do that. So, I think this Herbert kid is just a talented guy. Maybe Williams mixes in a little more, but I mean, even that first game where they really were both involved, Herbert had more carries than Williams. Remember that? And then we were like, oh, it's probably just a game script thing. We're not too worried about it. But then when Williams goes on a COVID list, and then comes back and still's not getting the work.
Yeah, to be fair, he wasn't activated till like the day before the game. So maybe just the lack of practice or things like that. But either way, how could you split carries between the two right now? Herbert's looks so good that it would just make sense for them to continue feeding him the ball.
Kind of like the Leonard Fournette situation, most of the year where it's just like, we have Jones, we have Bernard, sometimes Vaughn is active, but Fournette's playing so good that he's going to get like 70-80% of the carries most weeks in the backfield. So
exactly.
That's kind of where we're at with Herbert. Let's go to wide receiver. Who's your top 5 at the wide receiver position for week 8?
So no Devontae Adams this week. So number 1 slot is wide open. I'm giving it to Cooper Kupp this week. Naturally,
that's not wide open.
Too good.
That's just Cooper Kupp.
Finally get to rank him number 1. I've been meaning to do that. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson.
Mine's a little different. I have Kupp, Hill, Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase, and DJ Moore. DJ Moore, I mean, maybe he flips out of it. Stephon Diggs has been tough for me to rank because he's not getting the same amount of routes as he was last year. He's kind of in this 80 to 85% range instead of like 90 to 95%. Like his routes the last 4 weeks, 79%, 82%, 80, and 81. So I can't keep projecting him for like 90% routes run. So I have him as the wide receiver 7. And you did make a good point that they could go more 4 wide receiver personnel, which I think bumps everyone up a tiny bit, but do you have any thoughts on Diggs real quick? And just like, is that a function of just the game script, or is he playing a little bit less? Do you think that's going to continue?
It's a little bit of function of Tuesday morning projections meets. I'm still pretty high on Diggs. Like I have a pretty big gap between the top 5 to 6. So I have DJ Moore number 6, and he's 2 points behind Diggs. So I just still love Diggs' big playability. I'm with you though. I'm projecting him at 85% routes run. That's been a semi concern, but he's still getting a healthy target rate. Looks around 25%. So with Josh Allen as a quarterback, there's a lot of passing yards to go around. I still have Diggs really high in my model. But yeah, I take your point when it comes to, like a guy like DJ Moore. I'm not going to fault you for having him. Either way, you're playing these guys in fantasy, so it's, not that big of a deal. The top 5,
I just thought it was interesting. I've been kind of scratching my head about that with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I need to check, but he had been only catching like, I think it was like 30% of, yards beyond 20 yards. So deep passes. He was due for some positive regression there, so I was factoring that in. But either way, I think he was a good buy low player a week or 2 ago. So he's still, like I said, he's still grading very highly in my model.
He's 8,100 on DK. Cooper Kupp is 9K. Diggs is 81, and then Williams is 77. Would you pay for Diggs at 81, given that he's the second highest on the slate, 400 higher than the third place?
Nah, he's probably he's too expensive there. I mean, Jamar Chase is $600 cheaper.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go, if we're just talking about pure value here, I would absolutely go with Chase. And then DJ Moore is almost 1,000 less than Diggs. So yeah, Diggs is probably too expensive.
Deebo is 7,400 too.
Oh yeah, Deebo.
He's 700 less than Diggs.
Oh yeah. So he's right in that like the bottom of my tier, the bottom of my wide receiver 1 tier. So I'm not as high. You have him wide receiver 4? Yeah. So I still have a guy like Calvin Ridley projected similar to Deebo right now.
I love me some Calvin Ridley this week. But I have him a little lower just because. I have him 9th. I have Ridley 9th.
Yeah, I can't fault you, but he's almost $1,000 cheaper than Debo. So I'm saying just when it comes to that range, a guy like Ridley sticks out more when it comes to price. Whereas, Jamar Chase sticks out at the top. He's only 7,500 and he's my number 3 wide receiver on the main slate. So just with the top guys, I think Chase is probably the way to go.
Yeah, and Ridley's going to be one of my cheat codes. But who you got at for your DFS cheat codes at wide receiver?
Yeah, so I like Brandon Cooks this week against the Rams. It's a revenge game for him. He's only 5,700. He'll likely see some Jalen Ramsey, but you've been saying he hasn't been strictly shadowing guys this year. So I think Cooks will get his. They should see plenty of garbage time. I think there's also a chance that Tyrod Taylor returns this week, right? Like it's probably 50-50 at this point.
Yeah.
So if Taylor returns, I mean, that's massive for Cook's stock. It's been incredible that he's been able to put up numbers with Davis Mills under center. So he's too cheap this week. I think if Tyrod plays, he'll be very popular. T Higgins, I'm sticking with T Higgins. I think he's too cheap at 5,200. Obviously, everyone's going to be on Jamar Chase, and rightfully so. But Higgins put up a quiet 7-catch, 62-yard game last week. They faced the Jets, so he's a good bet to possibly score a touchdown this week. I don't know if he'll have as high of a ceiling as normal, given the potential blowout, but I do like him to score a touchdown this week. And I'm going to stick with him. I don't want to hop off him, and he has a big game, so I'm sticking with T Higgins this week. And then Gabe Davis, our boy, could step up this week because, like you mentioned, Dawson Knox is likely out this week. He's been the reason why Gabe Davis has been left off the field. They've been running more 11 personnel. Knox has been running a route 75% of the time this year. So I think with him out, they're not going to have Tommy Sweeney step in and run a route 75% of the time. I think they're going to run more 10 personnel, get Gabe Davis on the field over 50% of the time on Josh Allen's dropback. So that's all we need with Gabe Davis is playing time, running routes. And he has a high ceiling when he does that. So I love him at 3,300 this week. I think people are probably overlooking that when it comes to Knox being out. So I think Gabe Davis is probably the cheat code of the week at wide receiver for me.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I like Gabe Davis preseason, and then Dawson Knox just kind of took all his thunder.
And to be fair, Emmanuel Sanders did too.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran away with not just the wide receiver 3 job, but like the wide receiver 2 job. So we thought, it'd be a position battle between those two guys. That hasn't been the case. So it really has been Knox that's been holding Davis back. So with Knox out, I think that Davis will step up, hopefully.
All right, for mine, I'm going Calvin Ridley. I think it has to start with him. I think he's a guy that you can play in cash games this week. He has 8 or more targets in every single game, 10 or more in the last 4 games. So even though he only had 26 yards last week, it was kind of a down game for him productivity wise. He did get the touchdown, and they've been talking about getting him more involved down the field. So the fact that he went for just 26 yards on 4 catches last week, I think they're going to dial up some deep shots for him. And you have the Panthers, who they've been getting banged up at corner. I mean, maybe they get Stephon Gilmore back this week, but I'm still rolling with Calvin Ridley in this spot. I think the Panthers, defense has been 29th in DVOA against number 1 receivers, and they have good corners anyway, even with, JC Horn going down, and they're still struggling against receivers. So I like Ridley. I think he's just way too cheap for that kind of target share this week. It's not going to be man-to-man coverage on every single play. And then Matty Sanders, we already talked about him. I mean, I like Davis, but Sanders is he's at this point, he's right outside my top 20 at wide receiver. I mean, he's playing just as much as Stephon Diggs, and he's been pretty much almost as productive most weeks. He's actually run around on 88% of the dropbacks this year to Stephon Diggs 86%. So Sanders has been on the field more than any other Bills receiver this year. So I have him as my wide receiver 21 heading into the week. So love Sanders in this matchup against the Dolphins. Howard and Jones just haven't been good. And I mean, Howard could get traded by the time you hear this. So like him. And then going down into the cheaper guys, Jerry Jeudy, he should be back this week. He's just 4,900. I think he's an interesting tournament play because, he probably they've been saying he's a lock to kind of play, which means he may just get his full complement of snaps here, and he's way too cheap, and they really need it. Denver's been struggling on offense pretty much most of the year. So I think he's going to be heavily involved. And then a dart throw guy would be Jamal Agnew. He's played he's played 68 and 73% of the snaps or dropbacks the last couple of weeks, run a route on that many. And then he's had 6 and 7 targets the last few weeks. And remember, he had all those crazy returns early in the year. So it looks like Urban Meyer's just trying to get him more involved in the offense. And he's had 5 or more he's had 11 catches over the past 2 weeks. And he's a guy that can break a big one. So, he's not the worst. He's not the worst dart throw. And his rostership should be pretty low because they're coming off the bye. So it's not like maybe people had remembered if it was like the week before, but nobody's going to roster Jamal Agnew coming up.
Right.
So he's my dart throw down at the in the lower tier.
Love that. And I mean, they game plan for him. I think the very first play of the game was some scripted screen pass to him and they won. Isn't it you that always like when they win a game, they usually stick with the same game plan? So yeah, like Jamal Agnew was part of the game plan when they won. So why would they not just continue featuring him this week? So love it. Yeah. He'll be rostered pretty low. And do you think Calvin Ridley's going to be overlooked, or do you think he's going to be highly rostered just given how cheap he is? Like, he's hard to gauge right now.
I think it might almost depend on the Gilmore news. I think if Gilmore, if that's a big news item, people are going to put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh, well, Gilmore, he'll probably guard Ridley, even though Gilmore probably wouldn't play a full complement of snaps if he returned. But if not, I think Ridley would be like mid-tier. Like, I think some people will be a little skittish of him, but I mean, he is way too cheap, and everyone had him ranked as like a top 10 guy coming into the year. So I think, I think he'll probably still be ranked 20% or more, actually.
Nice. That's good to hear.
All right, let's go to the wide receiver prop.
So let's go with Jamar Chase receiving yards against the Jets. This line is up on PrizePicks right now, so we can actually get some action on this. The line is 84.5. Are you going over or under?
Over. I have it more like 87.5. So yeah, he's my wide receiver 4 on the week. And talk about pivoting. I mean, early in the year, coming into the year, I was like so down on Chase just because of all the reports, and I just thought, you have Higgins and Boyd there, so it's not like they need to throw him in to the fire right away. They kind of waited with Higgins about a month or so, but I mean, I love Chase now. I mean, he is every week. It's the deep balls for me. It's, him and Joe Burrow have that connection going down the field where most receivers, you throw it up to them like 20, 30 yards down the field. That's not even a 50-50 shot. Like, it's more like a 40-60 shot. With Jamar Chase, it feels like an 80-20. Like,
seriously.
So, I'm going over. What about you?
I'm going over. And, I got skittish on him briefly. Once he started complaining about the not having white stripes on the ball, I was like, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. But then I came to my senses, right? I think our first pod, I took the over 40.5 receiving yards. I thought this might be the lowest prop we ever get for this guy in his career. And lo and behold, 7 weeks later, it's 84.5, and I'm taking the over. But I feel like this is one of those matchups where his ceiling, in theory, is limited because they could blow him out. But with a guy like him, it probably isn't, right? Because he's probably due for at least one long touchdown here. Like, how could you project him for under like 90 yards right now? So I'm going over. I was going to give you the line of 89.5. Would you have gone over or under that?
That's pretty much where I have it. Like, like I said, I think 87.5. So I just probably would have still gone over. So just to,
right.
I don't want any unders with Chase. I think the floor is more so lower than the ceiling, just because, Cincinnati could put up like 4 touchdowns on the Jets early in the game, and that could be that.
Yeah.
And Chase maybe ends like with like a 4-catch, like 68-yard, no touchdown type of game. But he's been a high floor guy. It's just a low floor compared to his normal production, but he's been a guy who's gotten 54 or more yards in every single game, 54 yards and or a touchdown in every game. So his worst game without a touchdown was 77 yards, and his fewest catches in a game without a touchdown was 4. So I think he's probably a lock to get to double-digit fantasy points at this point, in half PPR. It's just, will he get the touchdown? Will he get the big play? But can't go wrong with Jamar Chase against the New York Jets starting Mike White or Joe Flacco. So, they'll have the ball a lot.
Yes.
All right, let's go to tight end. Who is your top 5 for this week?
So I got Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts at number 2. Then it's kind of wide open. I have TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, and Noah Fant.
Yeah, I have the exact same. Kelsey, Pitts, Hawkinson, Goddard, Fant. Goddard ran a route on 88%, I believe, of the dropbacks last week. So that was encouraging.
He's pretty good. I told you, top 5.
You did have him top 5 last week, right? Or did you end
we
up
had a
ranking him?
2-minute debate where I was yelling at you because I've been waiting for this moment for 2 years now, for Zach Ertz to be out of there. So yeah, I ended up having Goddard in my top 5. He had 3 catches, 7 yards, and no touchdowns. So yeah,
disappointing, but I mean, enough. I think he had a 2-point conversion. So
yeah, no, I thought he had a good game. The touchdowns will come. If anything, he's been a little too touchdown dependent as of late. But yeah, with 88% routes run, I mean, he's gonna have mid-range tight end 1 value the rest of the way for sure.
All right, who are your DFS cheat codes this week?
So this week it's pretty thin at tight end, right? We have no Kelsey, no Kittle, no Waller, and no Mark Andrews. Long story short, I'm spending down this week. And as always, Ricky Seals-Jones is less than 4K. So I'm going to have a lot of Ricky Seals-Jones. Last week, again, he ran 91% of the routes, 6 catches for 51 yards. So he has just, the perfect floor ceiling combo for a tight end under 4K. We just rarely get these opportunities. So I'm going to have a ton of him. And then I think Dan Arnold is sneaky. So the 2 fantasy flex all-stars, Ricky Seals-Jones and Dan Arnold, are going to be on all my teams this week. But I mean, he's sub 3K, coming off a bye. He didn't do much the week before. He only went 2 catches for 27 yards, no touchdowns. But he should be fully up to speed with the playbook within this offense. I mean, he just got traded to this team. So coming out of the bye, I think he's going to be featured. He could be, Lawrence's 2nd or 3rd favorite target the rest of the way. I'm projecting him to be in the 70 to 80% routes run rate every week going forward. So I just love him at 2,800 on a week where, it's so thin at tight end. This is the time to spend down at tight end and then spend up at just, to get, top running back, top quarterback, top receiver. So I'm going cheap at tight end this week.
Yeah, I really like Seals-Jones. I mean, I like Arnold too. I think he's way too cheap. But Seals-Jones will probably be back in cash game lineups again for me this week. Just still way too cheap for, this 4, 5, 6 catches that he's probably going to get most weeks. Another guy I like, we already mentioned him, but Dallas Goedert. I think Goddard is a little too cheap. So Goddard is, he's really like the 7th highest price tight end. There are some guys out, so he technically is 5th, which is where I have him ranked. But I think he's a little bit too cheap here for his upside. I love stacking him with Hurts, and the Lions are 28th in DVOA against tight end, so it's a great matchup for him. Tyler Higbee, great matchup for him too. The Texans are dead last, 32nd in DVOA to tight ends, and what did the Texans play? They play that split safety, 2 deep Tampa 2 coverage here. This is going to be a big game for the tight end, so I love Tyler Higbee. Ricky Seals-Jones, mentioned him. And then Pat Freiermuth, I think, is another guy coming off a bye. I always look for rookies coming off buys. I think, even if they don't have like the greatest game, like you usually see teams try to get them more involved. Like we saw that with Elijah Moore getting a rushing touchdown last week. So like Freiermuth, who played a season high 60% of snaps, season high 7 catches in the game before the bye. I think CJ Uzomah, I know a lot of people probably feel like it's chasey, but Jets are another team that plays a lot of man coverage, and Uzomah's been one of those guys that the Bengals have actually been, when there's single coverage, Burrow goes to him and he gets routes like down the field. So he had 3 catches on 3 targets for 91 yards last week, but he has 2 90-yard games in the past month. And you're going to get a lot of leverage on Chase if you make a lineup with Uzomah instead of Chase, or you could differentiate by stacking Burrow, Uzomah, Chase. So I like that kind of a leverage play. Like I think his floor is still pretty close to 0, but his ceiling, as we've seen, is in the high 20s, maybe even higher. So I like Uzomah this week as well.
Nice. And he is actually my player prop.
Let's go.
So maybe I have to juice him up a bit, but that was kind of my point, is like, can we trust him if he doesn't score a touchdown? Because my receiving yard prop for him is over under 26.5 receiving yards.
I do have that over. I have around 30. He's my tight end 10. Do I think we could trust him without a touchdown? No, but that's a lot of players. I have him projected for about 2.8 catches. So right around that 3 catch mark. The standard deviation is kind of the same as the 2.8. So like they could have a 0 catch game, but he's getting better and better. He's no Dalton Schultz yet, but he's kind of pushing that because this team looks like they pass efficiently, and he's running a route on 75% of Joe Burrow dropbacks this season. Drew Sample 19%, Mitch Wilcox 3. So Uzomah is their clear-cut starting tight end. He's on the field just almost as much running a route as guys like Higgins and Boyd. So I think he's a guy, only a tournament play. Like, don't play him in cash games, but the upside is still there. All right, so that's going to do it for our positional breakdowns for the main slate. Now let's get into something we've started doing these last couple of weeks, which is building tournament lineups. We'll do one for DraftKings. We'll do one for FanDuel. Let's start with DraftKings. I think you went first last week, Sean. So I'll go first this week, and then you can go first on FanDuel. Okay. So I'll start it out. Let's go with Higbee at tight end, because I think a lot of people are going to go Goddard, only 200 higher. And then a lot of people are going to go Seals Jones, who is 700 less. So let's go Higbee against the worst defense in DVOA. Tight ends.
Love it. We're hoping for a 2 touchdown game. I don't think he'll get there with receptions and yards, but certainly, he has 2 touchdown potential here. All right. So let's see. I was going to go with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and thinking of stacking with with Goddard, sorry. But maybe that would be an interesting leverage play if we can stack him with a receiver instead. Either way, I'm forcing him in there, Jalen Hurts, and I'll let you figure out what we can do from there. But I just think this is a smash spot for him against the Lions. I'm not going to overthink this and go with like a Teddy Bridgewater or anything like that. Give me Jalen Hurts.
All right, I'll go with Khalil Herbert, 5,400. At running back. Maybe people aren't quite sold on him yet, but over 80% of the backfield carries last week, 100 yards against the Bucs. That's impressive. So we'll go with him at 54.
Love it. And I'm going to have to do it. T. Higgins, just force him in there. Jamar Chase leverage. I think he could have a big game here and be under rostered.
Yeah. I mean, with Chase and, there's even a chance a guy like Uzomah, just because of his position, gets similar rostership.
Yeah, especially after last week's game. I do agree he has a high ceiling, but his rostership could be pretty high this week.
Yeah, it was a struggle for Higgins last week. I mean, this is why they don't usually use him against those like man coverage teams, and they decided to use him, and he had 15 targets and caught only 7 for 62 yards. Like, it was like a struggle with him. So now it's like he'll probably get like half the targets, but just as many catches.
Yeah, he's too good, like, to not bounce back after that.
Speaking of guys who are too good, Calvin Ridley's too good to be 6,600. So we're going Ridley. We've got some pretty good value here in this mid-range. Hurts at 72, Herbert 54, Higgins 52, Ridley 66, and Higbee 45. So we have an average of 52.75 for a running back, a wide receiver, a flex, and a defense.
So we haven't picked our defense yet, so the average is probably a lot lower.
Higher.
Yeah, no, it'd be higher. So I was gonna force in. Actually, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm taking Gabe Davis here.
It's not a force. That's very easy to get in. But yes,
no, we can absolutely spend up now. Feel free. Derrick Henry's and Cooper Kupps are fair game right now.
Yeah. Well, we got Higbee, so I'll keep the leverage there. And then I'm looking at running back right now. Yeah, let's go Henry. Let's go Derrick Henry.
Nice.
Because I just don't want. I think Kamara will have a great game receiving, but I just don't want him against the Bucs D. I want to maximize rushing upside. The Colts are one of the top run defenses, but Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. So
yeah, the Bills the Bills were the number 1 ranked team in DVOA until they faced Derrick Henry, and then they dropped. I think he single-handedly dropped them down to like 8th or something, right?
Yeah, and the Chiefs were 31st, and he had like his lowest yardage total since week 1. So he had a long of 11 against the Chiefs. So he is due. Bizarre. They stacked the box. They did what they had to do to slow him down. But this is one of those games where it's a division game, probably another 25, 30 carries. And best of all, this is the first time since week 4 that we are getting Henry under 9K. So gotta take it. All right, we have You take the flex. No, no. I'll take the flex here since that's how we're doing it, right? Yeah. Whoever starts takes the flex, so you could take the flex on FanDuel. So yeah, pick us a defense.
I was gonna do that anyway. We got some options this week. It's not a bad slate for defenses. I like the Browns against Pittsburgh in terms of like just how cheap they are. Jaguars against Geno Smith is kind of sneaky. I'm gonna go with the Browns here at 3K.
Okay, yeah.
Fading Big Ben.
Browns defense played well. I mean, they're so hard. They have so much variance too. So they're actually a good tournament play because sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes they're god awful. All right.
Yeah, I don't want to like overspend at defense, and I don't necessarily want to take the Jaguars. So yeah, Browns seems like a good compromise.
So you have a flex we can spend 5,900 or less on. I usually don't like spending the whole thing if I don't have to, just because I think it gives you more lineup
Devonta Smith is 5,500.
Ooh, I think we're going to go.
We want to go naked Hurts.
I think we're going to go naked Hurts here just because it's been so difficult to figure out. I think we might get more leverage just going naked Hurts. I think I'm going to go with the guy that you mentioned in this game. So we have some correlation with Higbee, and that's Brandon Cooks. And he's at 5,700. So we'll go with a receiver in the flex. We could be getting his quarterback back. He's coming off a week where he only had 21 yards on 5 catches, even though he got 7 targets. He's usually been, in that at least 7, but up to double-digit targets, all but one game where he had 5 against New England. But that's New England. You kind of expect that. So, again, Jalen Ramsey hasn't been following receivers around. They've been playing a ton of zone. So I think Cooks could still have a big game in his spot. And he's also at his lowest price since week 1. So that's one of those things in DFS, especially at receiver, with these guys that are going to get targets anyway. You're just trying to buy the dips here. So I like that call on Cooks, so I'll take him as our flex.
Love it. And I think, so Hurts will have to rush for 1 or 2 touchdowns, throw a passing touchdown to Jalen Reagor and Boston Scott, like a 9-yard passing touchdown to Boston Scott and a 30-yard pass to Reagor. So nobody goes off. I think that makes sense. Hurts is the easiest quarterback to go naked on because he has such a high ceiling, without having to throw 2 touchdowns to somebody.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that they traded Flacco to the Jets, probably less chance he gets benched now, right?
Well, I mean, Minshew, I was worried last week. I thought they might put Minshew in there. Not going to lie, when they were down by like 30, but they left Hurts in there. I mean, what do they have to lose right now?
Yeah.
By just keeping him out there. But yeah, I thought about that with Flacco gone. It helps his job security a little bit, but I was never really worried about Hurts' job security anyway.
Yeah, it makes no sense unless they get back into that kind of tanking situation in like week 17. They might pull him early. That wasn't fun. But so we got Hurts at 7,200, Derrick Henry at 8,900, Khalil Herbert at 5,400. Those are the 2 running backs. At wide receiver, we have Calvin Ridley at 6,600, Brandon Cooks at 5,700, T. Higgins at 5,200, and Gabe Davis at 3,300. So we have a receiver in the flex. And then at tight end, Tyler Higbee at 4,500. Defense, the Cleveland Browns hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. The lineup has 200 left over. So that's our DraftKings lineup. Let's now jump over to FanDuel. And Sean, you can start us off with our FanDuel lineup for week 8.
All right. I'll let you choose the quarterback for this one. So I'm going to go with, I think a running back here.
And let's try not to overlap. So let's try not to use the guys that we used in the other one.
Yeah, I think if we have like one player, that's okay. But I'll try to make sure I do. I'm just looking at the pricing right now. Pricing is not bad right now. Let's go with Darrell Henderson at 7,700. I think that's a good play for FanDuel. It's half PPR. So I'm more interested in playing a guy like Henderson where, it's going to be a blowout, possibly see, 20 plus touches. So let's go with Darrell Henderson here.
All right. A quarterback. I'm going to go with Tom Brady, 8,300.
Nice.
Love that price. Think they throw a ton because you don't run it on that Saints defense and not when you have Tom Brady. So Tom Brady, 8,300.
Nice. So I'll be the one to try to pick out one of the receivers to stack this week. Is it finally the Godwin week, or are we going to get another Mike Evans game?
I think this is going to be a tougher matchup for Evans. Remember, Lattimore always gives him trouble. So definitely Definitely Godwin. I mean, Godwin had what, 9 for 111 last week, 8 for 111 and a touch. It was a Godwin week last week. It just happened to be an Evans week even more. Like Evans caught the 600 touchdown. He got the 3, but Godwin is fine.
Yeah, let's go with God. I like it for tournaments. Antonio Brown could return as well. They're about the same price. I just like buying the dip on God, even though last week wasn't a dip. I just think he's due for a 1 to 2 touchdown game here. So I like stacking him with Brady. And yeah, good call with Lattimore. He usually does step up against Evans. That's like his Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, right. Okay. I am going to go with let's go Goddard here.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say Higbee's super cheap on FanDuel, but yeah, Goddard's cheap as well.
Yeah, it's Goddard at 5,800. So we have Brady at 83, Henderson at 77, Godwin at 72, and Goddard at 5,900.
Okay, what's the average?
We have average of 6,180, but we don't have a defense yet. I can pick a defense in this one, so you should have a good bit of salary here.
Right. On FanDuel, Kamara's pretty cheap. I know it's half PPR, so that does kind of kill his value a bit. But I think they do use him heavily here. People might shy away because of the Buccaneers, but he's their offense. So I'm going with Kamara here.
All right.
As a way to send it back, we have Brady and Godwin. We need to send it back with somebody. Not really confident in anybody else on the Saints, so go with Kamara.
All right. I'll pick a defense here to get it out of the way. Let's see. Well, we can have some correlation from one lineup to the other. I'll go Chicago Bears at 3,700 at home against the 49ers. The Bears, I think their pass rush is still going to bother Garoppolo a little bit. May make there be some calls for Trey Lance in this one. I think the Bears have one of those great defensive games and get back on track just when you kind of write them off and expect them to like lay down and die. Like, this is the exact type of game that the Bears can win. So give me I think it'll be pretty contrarian. Bears at 3,700.
Yeah, love it. And
so now we're back up to 62-67 average. You could choose the flex, so you also need to choose a wide receiver. So yeah, we have 2 wide receivers and a flex left open. Okay, so I'll choose one, you choose one, and then you can choose the flex.
I'll go receiver here. Damn, Cooks and really look pretty good. I'm gonna go Diggs. Diggs is pretty cheap on FanDuel. He's 7,300. Like I said, he's due for some positive regression in big plays. So I'm going with Diggs.
I like it. Yeah, that's a great price for Stephon Diggs, 7,300. All right, so now we do have to get some cheaper guys in here. 5,750 for a flex and a third receiver. A shame we didn't go Brandon Cooks here. I just realized he's 6K on FanDuel, so that's a great price for him.
You said no crossover, but yeah, he does look good at that price, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really is the best guy at that price.
He could do it. We did that last week. We had one guy, I forgot who it was, but we had him on both teams.
I think it was Mooney. All right, fine. Let's go Brandon Cooks here because he's really cheap. 6K on FanDuel. So our receiving core so far is Diggs, Godwin, Cooks. Can't be mad at that. All right, so you got a flex. You got 5,500.
5,500. Not much to choose from. I think, FanDuel, I prefer running back because it's half PPR, but there's probably more options at receiver. God, I'm not seeing much.
Yeah,
though.
Brandon Bolden, Jalen Reagor, Singletary. You could go tight end, like guy like Hunter Henry's there. Mike Davis is down to 5,500.
Oh, you know what?
Fields Jones.
Hunter Henry. You know what? There's a bunch of reasons why I like that call. Number one, I mean, he's just been playing great. I think it's 4 games in a row now with a touchdown. Number 2, it's a revenge game. And number 3, Jonnu Smith is banged up. So, yeah. I mean, Jonnu Smith might be out. I mean, we're at a disadvantage setting this lineup early in the week, but let's try to get ahead of some potential news. If Jonnu Smith is out, I mean, Hunter Henry's a top 7 tight end this week. So, yeah, let's go with Henry. And I do like going contrarian with, 2 tight ends sometimes. So a week where tight end's kind of wide open. I do love this.
So we got Brady at 8,300 at New Orleans, Alvin Kamara at 8,400, and Darrell Henderson at 7,700 are the 2 running backs. The receivers, Stephon Diggs at 7,300 against Miami, Chris Godwin at 7,200 at New Orleans, and Brandon Cooks down at 6K hosting the Rams. Then we have the double tight end flex, Dallas Goedert 5,900 at Detroit, and Hunter Henry 5,500 at the Chargers, and we're rounding it out with the Bears for just 3,700 hosting the 49ers. So that's our FanDuel lineup.
We had $0 remaining. Are you going to be okay with that?
I'm fine with it. I mean, like for most of my lineups, I try to leave it just because I think there, it's been kind of proven that the winning lineup usually doesn't have full salary, and the optimal usually doesn't either. So, just kind of like to get ahead of that. All right, so that's going to do it for our Fantasy Flex main slate pod for week 8, presented by PrizePicks. You can find Sean on Twitter at @_oddsmaker. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Raybon. You can find us at those same handles in the Action Network app, the award-winning Action Network app, I should say, where you can follow all the bets that we make or track all of your bets for free. And you can find our fantasy content at actionnetwork.com. You can find our projections, our rankings there as well. FantasyLabs.com has our DFS content, tools, and models. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.